Are you a Christian, and do you call yourself any of the following? A conservative Christian, a progressive Christian, a liberal, Republican, Bible-centered, red letter, or evangelical Christian? If you do, it's possible that the devils have their hooks into you. This is the main topic of the 7th letter of C.S. Lewis's The Screwtape Letters. But before he gets into this, he answers a question that Wormwood has apparently asked in his last letter. The 7th letter begins like this.
My dear Wormwood, I wonder you should ask me whether it is essential to keep the patient in ignorance of your own existence. That question, at least for the present phase of the struggle, has been answered for us by the High Command. Our policy for the moment is to conceal ourselves.
The devils, then, walk a bit of a tightrope when dealing with humans, between increasing the effect of their interference on the one hand, and not allowing their patients to become aware of them on the other. If Wormwood pushes too hard, Screwtape has this advice.
If any faint suspicion of your existence begins to arise in his mind, suggest to him a picture of something in red tights, and persuade him that since he cannot believe in that, it is an old textbook method of confusing them, he therefore cannot believe in you.
Because of images like this, and this, and this, and this, the devils can push pretty hard on a modern person, and we will dismiss any impression of them out of hand because we don't even believe in the category that includes them. The spiritual. Then we get to the meat of the letter. Screwtape returns to a subject brought up in a previous letter.
I had not forgotten my promise to consider whether we should make the patient an extreme patriot or an extreme pacifist. All extremes, except extreme devotion to the enemy, are to be encouraged. Not always, of course, but at this period. Some ages are lukewarm and complacent, and then it is our business to soothe them yet faster asleep. Other ages, of which the present is one, are unbalanced and prone to faction. It is our business to inflame them.
In the context of the letter, World War II has started, and it should be no surprise that some Christians are on the side of patriotism, and some are on the side of pacifism. As we've talked about before, the devils don't care which side you are on, as long as you are toward the outer edges. If you ask people then and now if they are extreme, they will most likely tell you that they aren't, but they may be deluding themselves. Here's a list of warning signs that you might be moving toward the extremes, and not entirely by your own choice, because there are diabolical influences involved. Have you lost friends because of your views? Or has your relationship with some of your family members become strained? I know what you're thinking. Well, that's because they're moving to the extremes. That's just what the devils want you to think. Has there been an increase in your hostility toward others? And this includes the nature of the thoughts going on inside your head. Are these thoughts hostile? People who are on the extremes will talk as if from a script. Now, this might be hard to hear in yourself, but you should ask those with whom you are close if that's what you sound like. People who don't agree with you wholeheartedly. But you probably won't do that because of the next warning sign, being less willing to discuss your views with others. Because you get tired of people disagreeing with you, and you've written them off. Being confident in your own rightness. People with less extreme views are interested in what other people think, and they're open to having their views challenged, and they're open to being convinced to alter their position. If you are curious about what others think, you probably don't hold extreme views. If you recognize even just a few of these, be open to the idea that you may be operating a little further from the center than is healthy for you spiritually. The devils are actively trying to move us to the edges. Screwtape explains this strategy.
Any small coterie, bound together by some interest which other men dislike or ignore, tends to develop inside itself a hothouse of mutual admiration, and toward the outer world, a great deal of pride and hatred, which is entertained without shame because the cause is its sponsor, and it is thought to be impersonal.
Now, I may take comfort in the fact that all the groups I belong to are Christian, or all the views I hold are consistent with Scripture. I can't be extreme, and if I am, it's extremely devoted to God. This does not mean that you are not in danger of being manipulated by the demonic forces.
Even when the little group exists originally for the enemy's own purposes, this remains true. We want the church to be small, not only that fewer men may know the enemy, but also that those who do may acquire the uneasy intensity and the defensive self-righteousness of a secret society or clique.
We see evidence of this in the early church. Screwtape points out that in Corinth, there was a split between those who followed Paul and those who followed Apollos. This still goes on today. We call ourselves conservative Christian, progressive Christian, a liberal or Republican Christian, a Bible-centered Christian, a red-letter Christian, an evangelical Christian, and there's more. If the devils can get us to think in these terms, they've got us into a position where they can cause all sorts of trouble. As we read this next quote, substitute the words patriotism and pacifism with conservative or progressive, or one of the other sets of words we just talked about.
Whichever he adopts, your main task will be the same. Let him begin by treating the patriotism or the pacifism as part of his religion. Then let him, under the influence of partisan spirit, come to regard it as the most important part. Then quietly and gradually nurse him on in the stage at which the religion becomes merely a part of the cause, in which Christianity is valued chiefly because of the excellent arguments it can produce in favor of the British war effort or of pacifism.
You see what they're trying to do? Get us to consider that our conservatism or progressivism is the most important part of our religion, of our faith. This gets us to focus on our differences rather than on Jesus. And this makes us even more extreme. We fuel our position with faith. Jesus wants the opposite of this. Screwtape tells us.
The attitude you want to guard against is that in which temporal affairs are treated primarily as material for obedience. Once you have made the world an end and faith a means, you have almost won your man, and it makes very little difference what kind of worldly end he is pursuing, provided that meetings, pamphlets, policies, movements, causes, and crusades matter more to him than prayers and sacraments and charity. He is ours, and the more religious on those terms, the more securely ours. I could show you a pretty cageful down here. Your affectionate uncle, Screwtape.
Please like and subscribe. You don't want to miss letter number 8. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.